very special guest today. He used to be a strength coach. Now he just walks around on the beach in tank tops, smoking cigars, living life. No, but seriously, for those of you who know Jake Cox, he's made a lot of pit stops in this industry. Certainly can speak on strength and conditioning in all realms, and me and him have done that many a times. The unique thing today that I want to do before I let Coach Cox get this thing ripping is Coach has a very good background and very good knowledge in finances. And in strength and conditioning, we're bad at two things. Usually we're bad at one, making money, and we're even worse at saving it. So we're going to talk about a few things today that I know that Jake introduced me to thankfully at a younger age and was able to get on, but I know that a lot of people missed out on. So without further ado, my main man with the cigar on a beach in a tank, Jake Cox. Thanks for coming on, man.
Coach, thanks for having me. Start off saying thank you to you, your staff, Coach Heiss there, and everybody in the strength and conditioning community for watching and having me be a part of this little time in their professional development. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's so fitting that you're smoking a cigar on a beach right now. Absolutely, there's nothing more.
I love you, bud.
It's unbelievable.
It's a 5-minute walk away from the house, so
yeah. So
why not?
Recently, Coach moved to the beach pretty much. You're in right outside of St. Pete, right, Coach?
Mm-hmm. Just south of Clearwater. Yep, just south of Clearwater, Florida.
Beautiful.
So wonderful. Just missed a hurricane. Basically, we just had some overcast a little bit. Now the sun's back out after 6 days of hiding, and now we can get back to beach life.
Fantastic. Well, I guess let's segment this a little bit, and I know people who are listening probably have a lot of different financial situations, and probably a lot of different levels of finances. So let's keep things relatively general. But I guess why don't we start, Coach, kind of at the bottom as far as the people that are just getting into this industry. Why don't we start there with the interns who maybe aren't making money or not making much money? What are some things that they can do to really set themselves up for a future and be able to have some financial freedom, I guess, at some point?
Well, the best part of where to take that, Coach, is, if they're new and they're not making money, they've got to hustle and do a great job for whoever they're interning for so that they can eventually get to a status in the profession where they are making some income. Your best wealth generator initially is going to be your income. And so you actually, one, have to get an income. And then two, from there, the best predictor of long-term financial health and success is going to be your savings rate. So that means we have to start saving money. Typical, on average, just individual's going to go ahead and they're going to make $100, but they tend to go ahead and spend $106 a month. Well, that's not going to work out long term. And with that said, you need to start maybe living on 70% of your take-home pay and saving 30%. So I think it starts right there. We first have to understand, one, we need to do a great job at the internship we're at, the GA we're at, or the entry-level position we're at, so that we can get more income. And then from there, we need to go the route of increasing our savings rate. And one good philosophy on that is to pretend like you're in college as long as you can. Live like that. Live that sort of financial, frugal lifestyle as long as you can. Save as much money as you can, and never have income creep. So when you get the $40,000 job and then you get the $80,000 job, do your absolute best to keep living and saving more. Keep living as if you're making the $40,000, and now instead of saving $10,000 a year, try to save more. Try to live on that same lifestyle and save all the extra money that comes after your taxes.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we probably don't talk about enough in this industry is certainly one of the shortcomings and the unfortunate things is how hard it is to break into it and really financially what you have to figure out along the way to becoming successful in it. But at the same point, there is a big silver lining is at the end of the day, we had to learn to live off of 6,000, to learn to live off of 16,000. You know, those are my first two jobs were 6,000, 16,000. And I didn't have to be in those situations for very long, but I had to learn to live in those situations. And to me, that's very valuable, because once you start making six figures or 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, like you're saying, Coach, you don't change your lifestyle because you're used to living a certain way. And then now we can start to really pack on saving.
Yeah. That's got to be abundantly clear from the start of the get-go. Otherwise, you wake up, you're 35, 45, and you're like, wow, you know, this living on credit cards and living up to the top of my income, guess what? That's got me in a big, big financial burden. And I'm not going to be able to sustain that when I'm 60, 70, 80. So you got to best start young, you know, when the amounts are small and when the pain of saving more isn't really all that much. As you grow, you're going to have natural increases in those expenses. You're going to have car payments, daycare, you're going to have mortgages. So you really better you just want to hone in on those habits right away.
And one thing I've always tried to do is as I've gotten raises or salary bumps throughout my career, I guess that were unexpected, I've always tried to allocate a place for those to go immediately. So if I got a $5,000 raise, instead of, like you said, living like I'm making $5,000 more a year, it was immediately like, okay, I'm going to put my emergency account up 2,000 and I'm putting 2,000 in the stocks. And so
Absolutely.
It's like there, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, you mentioned an emergency fund, and that's probably a great place to start for people. And two of the best resources I can give for books are The Philosophy of Living Frugal and Saving right away are Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover, or Financial Pace University. First three steps alone are save $1,000 cash. Second step, no consumer debt, no credit cards, no car payments, no student loans. And third is get 6 months of emergency fund expenses. The other book would be Set for Life by Scott Trench. And his very first step is save $1,000 to $2,000. I think he just enhances that, because in that emergency fund of cash, you know, the tire gets flat and maybe you need 4 new ones, or maybe the transmission goes out, and you know, some things cost a little more than $1,000 now. So that's a great place to start. 2 great resources for understanding the beginning of that, and then also the ending. They have more steps along the way as well. So one thing I try to tell people is you really want to save about $1,000 to $2,000 cash as fast as possible, because I really believe in those first steps. Then after that, I do agree you're going to want probably 6 months of expenses. And that would be things like, what's your rent? What's your car payment? What's your cell phone? What are your utility bills? Netflix, food bill, all those other expenses. Just get them saved up. If it costs you $1,000 a month, go ahead and get $6,000 saved as fast as possible.
I think one thing that frustrates me sometimes about people is they'll tell me, I'll try to preach to them some of these things, and they'll say, well, Coach, I just don't have the money. I don't have any money to do it. And in some cases, they're not wrong. You know, our intern is unpaid, doesn't make any money. Should he be getting in the stock market right now? Probably not. And does he need to wait, you know, to start maybe saving? Maybe. But he doesn't need to wait to start educating himself. Because what people do is they wait until they make money, and then they go, oh, shit, what should I do now? Instead of educating themselves now, so they have a plan for when they do start making money, then they just insert. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know, start educating yourself now with strength conditioning, nutrition, and everything else that goes along with that. And it's very much the same thing. The basics are the basics. So start with those very basic fundamental financial habits and behaviors. And then you can compound on top of those just as you would with the appropriate supplements or advanced methods of training. The first things that need to be done are still the first things that need to be done. Your table stakes, your right to play foundation is not changing, is not going anywhere.
We started talking about the emergency fund, Coach. What advice do you have on, some people obviously aren't as disciplined as others. If I got $5,000 cash sitting in an account. What can I do so I'm not tapping into that emergency fund? Hey, I want to go on vacation. Let's just pull it from there.
All right, we're going to Vegas. No, and that's so. One part of it is I try to save for two accounts there in the beginning, a dream fund or vacation fund, whatever you want to call it. You know, a lot of coaches are they're going to have bachelorette or bachelor parties in the beginning to go to of old college friends, high school friends. So save for those trips, you know, separately. So maybe you're saving 10% towards an emergency fund. Well, try to save 10% of your income towards a vacation fund. You know, the time you do get away in the profession is time you're going to want to be useful with and get out and clear the mind and recharge the batteries quite a bit. Or just move to the beach.
All right, so let's do this. We've kind of, you know, some of this will be backtracking, a little bit repetitive, but I think this would be really good for people to hear. As you, in your head, think about a career. Think about someone who starts as an intern, works to, you know, it's typically probably a $30,000-ish a year job, then works their way up, and then they're making, you know, let's say whatever, $80, $90, $100,000. They're pretty stable at that point in time. What are some of your steps along the way that you would say, let's check these boxes as we're working our way from intern all the way to I'm established, I have money, and I'm pretty good?
Right. You know, and I think there you kind of want to balance out what debts do I have? What are those interest rates on those debts? Maybe you want to study a little bit of what is good debt, what is bad debt. Some will be completely against all debt. Nothing wrong with that. That's their choice. Some will be against bad debt and all for good debt. And I tend to take that route, not in the beginning. However, once you're more financially stable, then I think that's a good route to go. Meaning debt that's used to buy assets to start building up your wealth long term. No get rich quick schemes, that's for sure. And take that view. Look at your credit card bills. They're going to be the worst interest rates. Student loans might be the next, or car payments. And really go whole head in first and attack those three areas. Get used to paying off your credit card every month. You know, and get that ball and chain of student loans off your back, and, you know, become a little more wise about car financing, leases, everything like that. Things not to do. And understand that things that have engines, quads, UTVs, jet boats, jet skis, whatever, anything with an engine goes down in value. Most likely, unless you're some classic car collector. So for the people we're talking to, that new Jeep, that new truck, that thing goes down in value fast. And I'm a culprit of that, you know. But I'd say I bought a new truck last May, brand new. But before that, I'd never bought a single car in my entire life. So it went probably 15 years without, you know, just taking hand-me-down vehicles. And there's nothing wrong with that. It gets from point A to point B. So understand those things about student loan debt, cars. If you're a young intern and you need a chance to go to a grad school program and, you know, you do financial aid and everything, make sure you're wise and only take out the money needed if you need to take out money. Don't take out the money you think you should have just because you qualify for it. And then, again, goes back to those credit cards. Be really mindful of them. That's a great place to be. Now, from there, you know, maybe once you have a little capital, you've got your 3 to 6 months emergency fund. Now it's time to start thinking about, how do I grow money? How can money grow for me? And there's really two great avenues. A simple one is just start getting familiar with tax advantaged accounts like a Roth IRA. You know, when you're working, you go ahead and contribute to that, or contribute to your employer's retirement fund, whether a 403B or a 401k. All of those are great. Both are even better. And then from there, start thinking long term. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Not just physically, emotionally, career-wise, you know, family life, but think financially too. As you progress and you build a family, build a family that has a similar mindset financially, along with spiritually, emotionally, physically, and whatever else goes with that. But certainly make sure you're aligned in the household. That's one key as you progress.
How that's that we're getting in a little bit of marriage counseling there now, but is that something that you feel pretty strongly about, that within a relationship, wife should know what's going on financially, everyone should be same book, same page?
Absolutely. You know, you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. That's just kind of a universal law. It's the law of averages. And, you know, who else are you spending more time with than the people you're on a staff with and the person you share your home with? So get real choiceful, get picky, get aligned with your goals and your long-term growth with who that is and who you want it to be, you know?
Let's shift now. I mean, obviously a little different segments of this is going to relate to different people. You know, one of the big things especially in college football and strength and conditioning in general, but probably more so specific to college football, or I guess college sports in general, but a lot of tough decisions are made when you have to move. You know, you live in one place and you're up and you're routed and you go to another city. A lot of coaches are afraid to buy homes because of obviously a lot of things. 2008 is an example to some of them. I know a lot of older coaches I talked to lost everything. What are your thoughts on that? You know, you stop at 17 different places in your career. Should we buy at all of them? Should we buy some of them? What should we be looking at?
I think that's a great question. I think the way I look at it now, just recently, my wife asked me to review, you know, our past 10 years of financial mistakes. And I did a deep dive analysis into it. Took about 5 days, crunched the numbers, and it kind of came out to, look, wherever we've moved, we should have bought, period. In any of those different sized college towns across, I'd say probably 7 different states. So number one is we should have bought. And at the times we did buy, the result, if we held and kept it and rented it out, were better than if we sold it. Now, if we sold the properties, it wasn't horrible, it wasn't a negative. And what I would do is, we haven't hit on this with stocks yet, but when you analyze those, you're going to come across a good systematic approach. And the value of this structure and systems with stocks, one thing that helps remove emotion from the situation is a simple dollar cost averaging. And that just simply means each day or each week or each month or each year, you're just reoccurringly putting money to work. You're not waiting for when the market's low, because you're not going to hit it. You're going to suck. It's just a reality. You're not going to time it. Nobody is. You're not that good. And I would look at housing markets very much the same. So if you can afford to every 3 years buy a real estate property, then just keep that as your system. That's your dollar cost average. Well, what if the market's high? Well, you're always going to look for good value. If the market's a seller's market, that usually means interest rates might be really low for buyers. And at the end of it, if you end up renting it out and it cash flows, meaning after all the monthly expenses are paid, it still makes like a little bit of money or a lot of money, then that means that property is cash flowing in a bad purchase time. And when it becomes a good purchase time, maybe you refinance and now it's cash flowing even better. Or when you purchased in a great value property, most likely it's still going to cash flow in a good seller's market as well. So look for those variables, because at the end of it with real estate, you have four wealth building avenues. You have debt pay down, where the tenant is paying down your mortgage and principal each year. You also have cash flow. That's the second one. You have tax advantages due to depreciation. And from there, the fourth one, you're going to have appreciation rates. So for example, if I was looking at properties in Boise, Idaho, the appreciation rate there the past year alone was over 10%. Well, appreciation goes the way of the economy and it goes the way of people's emotions. So that's just one avenue alone. I'm not saying bank on that, but just understand that's there. And generally, that's beating inflation of the dollar.
Beautiful. I love it. How about stocks? How about once I have all that down, once I get my my money on the side and I can start getting into the stock market, what am I doing?
Whether it's a Roth IRA, an HSA, a savings account for your company and employer-sponsored retirement, I would just read the book Money Master of the Game by Tony Robbins. I would read then Unshakable by Tony Robbins. It's a self-help upgraded quality. And I would take the knowledge from those two books and I would dollar cost average. I would buy low fee, passive advantage index funds, total stock market. I would buy a great book for everyone to read is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. That book is written with the context that his daughter was never very interested in the financial side of life, but he knew he wanted to give her the gift of financial security. So he started writing blogs, notes, and made sense of them. And he just finally put in a book. And that book is worth 20x the money that you pay for it. So I recommend Money Master the Game, Shake, and then Simple Path to Wealth. And those three books combined are going to give you the blueprint you need to know about investing in your employer-sponsored retirement account, and then potentially your health savings account through your health insurance.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit there, Coach. I got most of it, but for going back through that, I mean, Tony Robbins' Money Master of the Game is something I recommend to everybody. It does give you, I think a lot of times the stock market people stay away from wanting to do their own finances because it seems like it's so difficult. It seems like it's something that's so far-fetched that they could ever even potentially understand. And that book does an unbelievable job of, you read it and it really is that simple. And it's even like, I'll tell you, the first 6 months to a year that I took over my own finances and stopped having an advisor take all my money to do it for me. It was a little nerve-wracking because it was almost like, this can't actually be this simple. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but it is. And I was talking to Coach Cox before we got on today, and it's once you kind of get in the rhythm of it, it all does itself. You don't even do anything. It becomes automated.
Yeah, exactly. And, we kind of got to a point as a family where you always look at the 80-20 rule. And I would say we got to 80% of the knowledge we needed to return our biggest return investment on there. And so we shifted our financial education to other ways. You're right. You got to kind of come to peace with how simple it should be. You should wake up and make your bed. You should have breakfast. You should drink water. You should sweat every single day. You should eat an apple over the Snickers bar. Like these are very simple things that you should do. And it's really not that uncommon to have such simple things in the financial side of life as well. It's tough to come to terms with the behaviors it takes to achieve those results. And maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you need a buddy, a battle buddy. Maybe you need a life coach. Maybe you do need a financial advisor short term. You don't have to be with them for 40 years, but go out and seek that guidance and make that progress. Change yourself, change your future.
I definitely think talking to people is big. I mean, it's kind of in our circle, Jake, just our circle of people, how much that's benefited. Just everyone kind of talks with each other and it's like, oh, are you going to do it? Well, yeah, I'm going to. And then you kind of, it gives you a sense of camaraderie and almost like, hey, this is possible. Oh, you're doing it too? Yeah, like we can do this thing. Yes, we are strength coaches. It doesn't mean that we don't have brains. Like we can figure this out and we can like I said, the two main issues is sometimes is making money, but sometimes also knowing what to do with it. And in our profession, we don't carve out a lot of time for self-knowledge when it comes to finances. And it's imperative, and it can be life-changing for you and for everybody around you too.
Well said. That's it, and sometimes it's really that simple. Coach, I want to just kind of push forward a little bit more. Like, okay, Coach, we've got these 3 steps done as far as got a little cash by the bedside, got an emergency fund, and we paid off some debt. Where do we go next? And then we talked about the retirement accounts. One thing you should know, this is a nice little twist coming from the book Set for Life by Scott Trench, is, okay, if I load those retirement accounts up every year, they're still really only useful at age 59 and a half. Now, on your net worth and everything, they still count towards your total net worth accumulation, your wealth. But they're really only accessible. Now, somebody will chime in with a HSA or a Roth IRA and how they can be accessible quicker, but most likely 59 and a half. Now, what if you don't want to wait till then? What if you don't want to be chained to watching paint dry every day at the office, or chained to the demands of maybe an employer you don't see eye to eye with? What if you want flexibility to take a sabbatical and travel the world, or just spend time with your family? What next? What do you do then? Some of that revolves real estate. And I want to dive back into that. You mentioned moving places and the nerves and emotions with it. People's biggest financial worry and stressor is the home purchase. The second is generally a new car. The third is like college funds for your kids. But let's go back to that number one. Let's just assume that every coach someday, now this doesn't fit everybody. Some people want to be lifetime renters. Let's assume you want to get married, or you want to have a kid, or you want to have a home, and you want to buy that home. Well, should I go out and buy the maximum valued home, that dream home, that forever home right away? And as Coach Heist would tell you what I would say, no, don't do that. Don't do that at all. Don't do that for the first few. And here's why. Either go buy a bigger home and rent out the rooms to other coaches, students, or, young professionals. Again, you choose who lives with you or rents, or go buy a duplex or a triplex. And again, you're in charge of who is renting that building. So that's your ownership. So I would say go that route first with your first-time homeowner's mortgage. Buy a home that can start producing cash flow for you. And I want to lay this out. I want to try to keep it simple. Let's say you're renting right now for $1,000. Let's say you're saving an extra $1,000 a year or a month. So at the end of the year, you've paid $12,000 towards your landlord to live, and you've paid yourself $12,000 in savings towards your future home. And let's say after 3 years, you have that $36,000. You've paid $36,000 to your landlord, and you have $36,000 to go buy a home, put a down payment on a home. Well, if I go buy a single-family home and I go move into it, and that's it. No, I'm not renting out a room. I'm not doing anything else. Let's say that mortgage is still the same price of your rent. So I'm saving $1,000 still, and I'm paying $1,000 towards principal, interest, taxes, and insurance a month. And you could be like, well, that's great. It builds equity, and it's a built-in savings account because over 30 or 15 years, you're going to pay down that debt. That's wonderful. At least financially long-term, it's better than renting. But now, what if we bought a duplex and you rented out the other side of that home, that duplex, and that rented for $1,000 a month? Well, that pays your mortgage. Now, if you enhance your savings rate now, you've got somebody paying your mortgage, which is paying down your debt and building your equity, and you can now still save an extra $1,000. So now instead of $1,000 saved per month, you're saving $2,000. So at the end of the year, you have $24,000. what took you used to be 2 years to save, you now only took you 1. So after a year and a half, you go buy another duplex or triplex, whatever. But we'll just stay with our duplex example. So now you have 3 doors. You're living in the 4th door, and you have 3 doors, 2 of which are paying for both properties, and you're saving an extra $1,000 now from the 3rd door. But now you're not just saving an extra $1,000. You're still saving $1,000 that you were at the start of this. You're no longer paying a rent or a mortgage, so you're saving an extra $1,000, and you're getting an extra $1,000 in cash flow. That's $3,000 a month you're saving. Walk that down the line. That's $36,000 in 1 year now. And that's a simple path to accumulating a high net worth. And then therefore you can go get that forever home or whatever you'd like. I would then take that approach and mix it with this profession. You're going to be moving every 2 to 5 years, at least for the first 15 years. And most generally, if you don't have good financial education, you're probably getting out to go sell insurance or do something, because they tend not to just level up the pay unless it's the head of men's basketball or the first assistant or head strength coach. So unless you achieve that, you're either probably getting out or you're still working for minimum wage. But if you're able to save $36,000 now a year, generally that replaces your first salaried income. And if you keep running that for a few more years, after 10, 15 years, things are looking pretty different for you. Any questions on that?
I think it's you know, so like I said, it's a lot, and it just seems it's something people need to actually listen to and absorb. 1,000%, and it's feasible. It's feasible for everybody. It's what you said to begin with: educating people and then making the decision to start doing it.
Yeah, it's like we always talk about, right? Like it says it on my Yeti mug: simple to do, simple not to do. So it's easy too. And I would say if a lot of our coaches are very analytical, especially with numbers and Excel sheets, spreadsheets, and that's wonderful. Well, do some personal data tracking, take care of yourself first too, in all sorts of areas in life, but track it. So sit down with an Excel sheet and just type out 10 years of the scenario of you renting and saving. And then do 10 years of the scenario of you paying down your own mortgage and still saving. And then do 10 years of this, hey, when I can, I'm going to buy a multifamily property. I'm just going to move and keep it. And if my expenses change a little bit, instead of $36,000 a year, say you're only making $25K extra. But that'd be my advice to push everything kind of in a hyperdrive for everyone.
Coach, are you open to people have questions after listening to this? If I put your email in the show?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so lucky that I've had a chance to be on your show 2 years ago and talk with so many staffs. I was lucky enough to, some coaches got a hold of it. And they're like, hey, you want to talk to my staff? So we've done a few of these Zoom chats and kind of break it down specific. And sometimes it's different. You get the head guy who's in a different stage of life, maybe one kid, really kind of getting into this whole mortgage and got the good income and everything, but understanding the coaching carousel life cycle. And then you have, coaches deeply do care about their interns, their GAs, their apprentices. And, so they want to sometimes do a clinic on how to get these guys moving forward. And that's powerful stuff, I'd love to answer any questions, whether it's staff chats or just one-on-one FaceTime. So more than happy to help. I'd love to give back in any way.
Well, Coach, I know drinking smoking your cigar, walking on the beach was difficult, but I appreciate you doing it with us, dropping a little knowledge on us at the same time. As always, man, I really appreciate these conversations with you and your friendship as well. I'm looking forward to seeing all the renovations at the new beach home.
Yeah, it's a little gutted right now, but I can't wait to get you down here. It's wonderful. It's going to be Cox family home base long term. as we keep moving around the country or the world, and we'll see how that goes. But just really fortunate, really grateful for everything strength conditioning and my friends and colleagues have helped me out with, and look forward to many years to come, Coach.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you so much, Jake.
See you, brother.